Listen, your future isn't waiting for permission, it's waiting for action. The gap between where you stand and where you know you can be, it's built from the habits you practice when nobody's watching. If you want 2026 to look nothing like today, then the next 10 habits aren't suggestions, they're your new contract with yourself. Let's get to work. Wake up with purpose, not panic. That first breath in the morning is your huddle, your reset, your moment to declare who you're going to be before the world starts shouting at you. Most people roll out of bed already behind, already reacting, already drowning in notifications they didn't ask for. Don't start your day chasing. Start your day choosing. Before you even touch your phone, sit on the edge of your bed and ask yourself, what's the one thing that would make today a win? Not 10 things, not a do list longer than your patience. Just one intention that gives your day direction. A UCLA performance study found that athletes who set a single clear intention each morning perform 13% better under pressure. That's not magic, that's focus. That's clarity. That's deciding before the noise decides for you. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I used to wake up like a fire drill, emails buzzing, mind racing, already stressed before I even brushed my teeth. Every day felt like I was sprinting uphill with no warm up. Then one morning, after a particularly chaotic week, I tried something different. I sat still for 60 seconds, just breathing. I asked myself, what's the win today? The answer was tiny, finish a difficult call I'd been avoiding. I did it, and that small win shifted everything. It became a domino that knocked down the rest of the day with a different kind of force. You felt this too. Think about mornings when you rushed out the door, coffee spilling, keys missing, brain fog thick as fog on a freeway. Compare that to mornings when you move with intention even for a minute. There's no contest. Purpose gives you control. Panic steals it. So here's the actionable part. Put your phone just out of reach when you sleep. When your alarm goes off, don't scroll. Sit. Breathe. Ask the question. Identify the win. Then anchor it with one simple action. Drink water, stretch, or write it down. Do something that signals I'm in control today. Because the truth is, greatness isn't built in stadiums or on stages. It's built in those quiet, early moments when no one's watching, those minutes before sunrise where you choose discipline over chaos, purpose over panic, intention over impulse. Start there and the rest of your day starts to rise with you. Sweat every day, yes, even for 10 minutes. People think they need a gym membership, perfect weather, or a 2-hour block of time to get moving. That's just excuses wearing gym clothes. 10 minutes is enough to change the chemistry in your brain. Motion controls emotion. When your body fires up, your mindset follows. It's like flipping a switch from sleepy to sharp, from drifting to driving. I remember a stretch in my life when everything felt heavy. Work was piling up, bills coming fast, energy running low. I'd wake up already tired, dragging myself through the day like I was wading through sand. One morning, out of sheer frustration, I dropped to the floor and did 20 push-ups. Not pretty ones, not even good ones, but something clicked. My heart rate went up, my breath got loud, and suddenly my head felt clearer. That tiny burst of effort became my anchor. 10 minutes a day, no negotiations. No, I'll do it later. Just movement. Every single morning, week by week, my mood changed. My work changed. My whole internal rhythm changed. A friend of mine, one of the hardest workers I've ever met, built $1 million consulting business while working night shifts. You know what he told me? The only habit he refused to break was his daily sweat session. Didn't matter if he finished work at 3 a.m. Didn't matter if he had 3 kids at home and 2 hours of sleep. He said those 10 to 15 minutes kept him from quitting when life felt like a pile of bricks on his chest. His words stuck with me. If I can move my body, I can move my life. And it's true. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. Jog in place while waiting for your coffee to brew. Do squats during commercial breaks. Take the stairs. Walk fast enough to hear your heartbeat. It's not the workout that matters. It's the message you send yourself. I'm not staying still. I'm not staying stuck. Here's your takeaway. Choose a 10-minute routine you can do anywhere. Push-ups, jump rope, fast-paced walk, light stretch flow. Do it at the same time each day. Make it automatic, like brushing your teeth or locking your door. No drama, no debate, because every drop of sweat is a vote for the future you're building. And the discipline you practice in those small moments. That's what separates the people who dream from the people who rise. Learn one new thing daily. It doesn't have to be a chapter or a course or a full documentary. One page, one idea, one tiny spark that widens your world a little bit more than yesterday. People underestimate how powerful small learning can be because it feels too simple, too quick, too quiet. But that's the trick micro learning compounds like interest. It's the silent investment that turns ordinary minds into sharp, flexible, relentless ones. I used to think growth only came from big breakthroughs, the moments, the massive training sessions, the long weekends buried in books. But the real shift happened during a season when I barely had time to breathe. Work was wild, life was heavy. I felt like my brain was stuck in neutral. So I made myself a deal: learn one thing every single day, just one, a 5-minute podcast while tying my shoes, a single page from a book before bed, a short video during lunch, even a conversation with someone who knew something I didn't. It didn't feel heroic. It felt almost laughably small. But 2 weeks in, I started noticing it. My mind felt more alive. Ideas connected faster. Problems didn't intimidate me as much. It was like sharpening a blade one tiny stroke at a time. One CEO I coached decided to try the same thing. He adopted a rule he called one new insight a day. He kept it simple, reading one paragraph from a business book, talking to someone in a different department, studying how another industry solved problems. 12 months later, his problem-solving speed doubled. His team said he started anticipating issues before they happened. He didn't become smarter overnight. He just fed his mind consistently, the same way you feed your body. Learning daily is like turning on a light in a dark room. Maybe it doesn't brighten the whole place at once, but suddenly you can see more than you could before. And that more is what creates momentum. Here's the actionable part: set a 5-minute minimum. 5 minutes is too small for excuses. Keep a learning notes section on your phone. Every day, jot down the one new thing you learn. Could be about money, relationships, health, creativity, human behavior, anything. Curiosity is a muscle, and once you train it, it pulls you forward. Knowledge is leverage. The more you know, the more angles you see. The more angles you see, the more moves you can make. And the more moves you can make, the more unstoppable you become. Keep promises to yourself. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but this is where most people fall apart without even realizing it. We think our dreams are threatened by failure, competition, lack of opportunity, but the real danger is those tiny moments when we tell ourselves we'll do something and then we don't. Those small self-betrayals stack up. They chip away at your confidence. They make you doubt your own word. And if you can't trust your own word, how can you expect to trust your own potential? I learned this during a phase when life felt like a never-ending checklist. I'd say, I'll journal tonight, or I'll clean that corner tomorrow, or I'll drink more water this week. And then I'd push it off because something else felt urgent. But every time I did that, something inside me got quieter. My ambition dimmed a little. My self-belief cracked a little. One night, after skipping yet another tiny promise I'd made to myself, I realized if someone else broke their word to me this often, I wouldn't trust them at all. So why was I tolerating it from myself? That's when I started small. 5 minutes of journaling, no matter what. Not a whole page, not a full reflection, just 5 minutes. Then 10 minutes of tidying, nothing crazy, just enough to give my space a little more order than before. And drinking water before coffee might sound ridiculous, but it was a signal, a reminder that I was choosing discipline before comfort. The wild part, those tiny promises change everything. They build a kind of internal momentum I didn't know I was missing. Each small win whispered, you follow through, you finish what you start. And that whisper grew louder every day until it became part of who I was. A friend of mine once struggled with sticking to big goals, writing a book, launching a project, improving his health. He'd make grand plans, get excited, and then drop off. I told him to forget the big stuff and focus on one tiny promise, write one sentence a day. Just one. He laughed, but he tried it. 6 months later, he had a full draft, not because he had a huge burst of motivation, but because he kept a tiny promise long enough for it to transform him. Here's the truth: mastering small promises builds the identity you need for bigger wins. Start with commitments so small you can't fail. Keep them, repeat them, and slowly, steadily, powerfully, you become someone your future can rely on. Practice a daily digital cutoff. Your brain was never designed to battle nonstop alerts, glowing screens, and the constant hum of everybody else's noise. Yet that's how most of us end our days: scrolling, tapping, refreshing, overstimulating ourselves until our minds feel like they're vibrating. And then we wonder why we wake up exhausted, why our thoughts feel foggy, Why we start the day already drained? It's not because you're weak, it's because your mind never got a chance to land. I hit this wall myself a few years back. I was working late, answering messages at midnight, watching just one more video, convincing myself I was relaxing while my brain was actually running a marathon. My sleep got worse. My patience got shorter. My creativity flatlined. One night, after staring at my phone for way too long, I finally put it face down and sat there in the quiet. The silence felt strange, almost uncomfortable, because I had forgotten what stillness felt like. But that stillness became the thing that saved my focus. I chose a shutdown time, 10 p.m., none. Negotiable, phone off, laptop closed, screens out of reach. The first week was rough. You don't realize how addicted you are until the habit fights back. But after a few nights, something shifted. I fell asleep faster. I woke up clearer. My thoughts stopped racing like bumper cars. I felt present again. And that small lifestyle tweak translated into results, deeper work, sharper ideas, calmer mornings. Sleep studies show a 23% productivity jump when screens are off at least an hour before bed. 23%. That's not a hack, that's a transformation. That's the edge you've been looking for and ignoring at the same time. A friend of mine, an entrepreneur juggling 2 businesses and a newborn, once told me the digital cutoff was the only reason he didn't burn out. He said, I can't control the chaos in the day, but I can control how the day ends, and he stuck to it. His shutdown routine was simple dim lights, stretch right down tomorrow's top task, and put his phone in another room. Not glamorous, not complicated, but powerful. Here's your actionable move. Pick a time and honor it. Set an alarm that signals shutdown mode. Put your phone on do not disturb. Charge it across the room. Replace the last hour of screen time with something that fills you instead of drains you. Reading, stretching, journaling, or just letting your mind breathe. Discipline isn't only about starting, it's about stopping. Knowing when to walk away, when to quiet the world, when to protect your peace. Because the person who ends the day with intention begins the next one with power. Track one metric that matters, not 20, not a whole spreadsheet full of color-coded ambitions you'll forget about in 3 days, just one number that pulls you toward the life you're trying to build. People complicate progress because it makes them feel productive, but real growth isn't about juggling, it's about clarity. One metric becomes your anchor, your compass, your scoreboard, and when you focus on that one thing long enough, everything else starts falling into place. I learned this during a season when I felt stuck. I was doing a lot, but producing very little. You ever have those weeks where you swear you were busy, but at the end of it, you can't point to anything that actually moved your life forward? That was me. I finally asked myself, what's the one behavior that, if I improved it every day, would change everything else? The answer was simple: time spent doing deep work. So I started tracking it, just minutes, nothing fancy. And seeing that number every day forced me to be honest. Some days it was great. Some days it was embarrassing, but that number kept me accountable. It became a mirror, a motivator, and slowly my output started climbing. I know a young creator who did this too. He tracked just one metric: minutes spent creating. Not likes, not followers, not analytics, just minutes. He treated it like a daily rep count at the gym. 6 months later, his audience exploded from 300 to 30,000. People saw the result, but he saw the work. He understood something most people miss: what gets measured improves, because measurement forces awareness and awareness fuels action. You can apply this anywhere. If your goal is fitness, track steps or workouts. If it's business, track sales calls or proposals sent. If it's studying, track focused hours. If it's mental health, track minutes spent meditating or journaling. Don't track everything. Track what matters. The thing that shifts the needle the most, and here's the key: make it visible. Write it on a whiteboard. Put it on your wall. Track it on your phone. Let it stare at you. Let it remind you. Let it challenge you. When you see the number rising, momentum builds. When you see it dropping, you adjust. No beating yourself up, no drama, just course correction. One metric, one focus, one commitment. Over time, the consistency you build becomes a kind of quiet strength, steady, reliable, unstoppable. And that's how progress actually happens, not in big leaps, but in small, measured steps you repeat with intention until they change who you are. Do something hard every day, not once a week. Not only when motivation shows up dressed nicely, every day, something small that makes you wince a little. Something that forces you to push past the version of you that wants comfort more than growth. Cold shower, tough conversation, extra reps, saying no when it would be easier to say yes, waking up 10 minutes earlier just to prove you can. Hard doesn't have to be heroic. It just has to stretch you. I had a season in my life where everything felt like resistance. Work stress, personal stress, just getting through the day felt like climbing stairs with bricks in my pockets. I kept looking for a big breakthrough to snap me out of it. But the thing that changed me wasn't big at all. It was choosing one hard thing each day. I started with cold showers, quick ones, nothing dramatic. But standing under that freezing water first thing in the morning taught me something. I could choose discomfort on purpose. And if I could choose it, I didn't have to be afraid of it anymore. That small act bled into everything else. Tough decisions didn't feel so heavy. Difficult tasks didn't feel so impossible. My mind toughened before the world even got a chance to test it. A friend of mine worked in sales and was terrified of confrontation. He'd avoid tough conversations for weeks, sometimes months. One day he told me he was tired of being scared of small things, so he made himself a rule: one hard conversation every day, even tiny ones, giving feedback, asking for clarity, admitting a mistake. Within 3 months, he was a different person, more confident, more respected, more trusted, not because life got easier, because he trained himself to stand still when most people run. That's the point. Lean into discomfort on purpose. Don't wait for chaos to punch you. Practice every day so you're not surprised when it does. Mental toughness is not talent. It's training. It's built in the daily reps no one sees. It grows in the moments when you choose effort over ease, discipline over impulse, courage over comfort. Here's the practical move. Pick one hard thing every morning. Write it down. Commit to it. Do it before your brain talks you out of it. It could be a workout you don't want to start, a phone call you've been avoiding, or a new skill that frustrates you. Finish it, and you'll walk into the rest of your day with a different kind of energy, quiet, steady, unshakable. The world respects the person who chooses hard things on purpose, because that person is the one who won't break when life gets loud. Write down your wins, because your brain is wired to replay every mistake on a loop while letting your victories fade in the background like they never happened. You know that feeling. You mess up once and think about it for 3 days, but you do 10 things right and barely give yourself a nod. That imbalance drains confidence. It steals momentum, and it convinces you you're not progressing when you actually are. A simple 2-minute win log can flip that whole script. 2 minutes, that's all it takes to remind yourself you're moving forward, even on days when it doesn't feel like it. I started doing this during a time when everything felt like pressure. I'd finish a long day and immediately think of all the things I didn't get done. It became a habit. Spot the flaws, ignore the wins. One night out of frustration, I opened a notebook and wrote down 3 things I did well that day. Just 3. Nothing glamorous. I finished a task I'd been avoiding. I helped someone who needed advice, and I stuck to my workout. That's it. But writing them down made me feel like the day wasn't wasted. It made me see myself differently, not as someone always behind, but as someone steadily showing up. That little shift changed how I walked into the next morning. A friend of mine who leads a team in a high-stress environment told me he started doing this with his staff. Every Friday, they spent the first 5 minutes writing down their wins, not weekly goals, not metrics, just wins, effort, improvement, moments of courage. He said the atmosphere changed. People started talking about progress instead of pressure. Even under stress, their motivation held up, not because the work got easier, but because they finally noticed the good they were doing. That's the power of documenting wins. It's not about bragging. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about giving your brain evidence that you're improving, that you're learning, that you're building something real. And once you see evidence, you build belief. Once you build belief, you build momentum. And momentum is what turns small habits into big results. Here's the practical part. Keep a notebook or a notes app labeled wins. Every night, write down 2 or 3 things you did well. Maybe you stayed patient during a tough moment. Maybe you drank more water. Maybe you didn't quit when you wanted to. Small wins count. They matter. They accumulate. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Perfection is a trap. Progress is fuel. And the more you acknowledge your own growth, the more you'll trust yourself to keep going. Protect your circle. It sounds simple, almost cliche, but it's one of the biggest turning points in anyone's life. Who you spend time with is who you slowly turn into, not all at once. but inch by inch, conversation by conversation, habit by habit. You don't notice it happening until one day you look around and realize the people beside you are either pushing you forward or pulling you down. And if your conversation stays small, your future will too. You can't dream big around people who are committed to staying the same. I learned this during a time when I was grinding hard but getting nowhere. I'd hang out with people who complained more than they created, people who talked about what they might do someday but never moved. And even though I didn't see it at first, that energy rubbed off on me. My ideas shrank, my ambition quieted. I found myself thinking less boldly, choosing the safer route, convincing myself it was realistic. One night, after yet another conversation that felt like a loop of excuses, I went home and realized I felt lighter when I wasn't around them. That was the wake-up call. My environment wasn't growing me, it was containing me. So I made a shift. I started spending time with people who stretched me, people who talked about goals like they were normal, not outrageous, people who rebuilt, tried, failed, got up again. Our conversations were different, faster, sharper, filled with ideas, not gossip. Being around them felt like standing in a room with better oxygen. Suddenly, I wasn't embarrassed to dream bigger. I wasn't scared to say out loud what I wanted. Their drive rubbed off on me the same way complacency had before, but this time it pulled me upward. A close friend of mine experienced this too. He worked at a job where everyone around him complained daily but never applied for anything better. He stayed in that environment for years, stuck in the same loop. Then one day he joined a small accountability group, just 3 people who met weekly to share goals and wins. In 6 months, he learned more, tried more, and grew more than he had in the previous 5 years. Not because he became a different person, but because he finally stood around people who expected more from themselves and therefore more from him. Here's the action step: audit your circle, really audit it. Notice who drains you and who fuels you. Notice who talks about possibilities and who talks only about problems. You don't have to cut people off, but you do need to rebalance the energy you allow near your dreams. Spend more time with people who make you think bigger, act braver, and stretch further. Upgrade your environment and watch how quickly your results start chasing after it. And every day with a reset. Don't just collapse into bed and hope tomorrow is better. That fog, the one that clouds your mind, makes your decisions sloppy, makes you replay mistakes endlessly. That's what kills momentum. You have to clear it out before it hardens. Every night, take a moment and ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I do well today? What slowed me down? What will I attack tomorrow? Simple but ruthless in its power. These questions don't let you hide. They force honesty. They force focus. They force progress. I learned this during a chaotic season when life felt like a storm I couldn't outrun. Days blurred together, tasks piled up. I was exhausted but still restless, waking up feeling like I hadn't moved an inch. One night, I decided to stop the autopilot. I grabbed a notebook and forced myself to answer those 3 questions. At first, it felt awkward. My victories were small, my mistakes glaring. But as the days went on, something shifted. Writing down what I did well, even tiny things, trained my brain to see progress, not just failure. Noticing what slowed me down gave me clarity about distractions, habits, and energy leaks I had ignored for months. And deciding what I would attack tomorrow gave me purpose before the alarm even rang. A friend of mine runs a high-pressure startup. He told me he was drowning in task and decision fatigue. I suggested he try the reset. At first he laughed. "I barely have time for sleep," he said. But he tried it. 2 minutes at the end of the day, 3 questions. Within weeks, he said he noticed something strange. The chaos didn't feel so chaotic anymore. He wasn't forgetting priorities. He wasn't carrying yesterday's mistakes into today. He was sharper, calmer, faster. Here's the practical takeaway: make it non-negotiable. Keep a small notebook by your bed or a notes app ready every night. Answer those 3 questions. Be honest. Celebrate wins, even small ones. Identify what dragged you down. Plan your first move for tomorrow. That's it, 2 to 5 minutes, no excuses. This habit doesn't just close the day, it positions you for domination tomorrow. It eliminates mental clutter. It transforms confusion into focus. It turns fatigue into strategy. And after a few weeks, you'll notice a shift. Days feel longer, your decisions feel cleaner, your momentum feels unstoppable. Ending every day with a reset is not optional. It's how winners wake up ready to win again. You don't need a new year, a new job, or a miracle to change your life. All the excuses in the world won't give you results. What you need is simple and brutal new habits. Habits you practice daily with intention, with fire, with relentless repetition until they aren't habits anymore. They're who you are. You wake up and they run through you naturally. They're oxygen, they're automatic, they're non-negotiable. I've seen people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect alignment of stars, and it never comes. Life doesn't pause for your readiness. You have to build your edge now, one small choice at a time. One cold shower, one pager, 1 minute of focus, one promise kept, one hard conversation every day consistently until the compound effect hits and you barely recognize the person you've become. I know someone who a few years back treated habits like optional drills. He woke up, did what felt easy, chased the urgent instead of the important. Life moved fast, opportunities passed, frustration built. Then he committed just 10 minutes of deliberate action every morning, 5 minutes of journaling, one hard call a day, a digital cutoff at night, small, brutal, consistent choices. 12 months later, he looked back and couldn't believe how far he'd come. Yeah, transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened minute by minute, day by day, until it became unstoppable. 2026 won't just be different for you. It can be unrecognizable, not because the world shifted under your feet, not because someone gave you a handout. It will be different because you did the work, because you chose discomfort over comfort, focus over distraction, discipline over excuses, because you decided to play the long game and your future self is already thanking you. Here's the key: pick one habit you will defend with everything you've got, nail it, then layer the next, then the next. Don't overcomplicate it, don't wait for inspiration. Action compounds, momentum compounds, identity compounds, and eventually the person you become is someone you didn't even imagine 6 months ago. Everything else, luck, timing, opportunity follows. But the fire starts with you. Start now, start small, start fierce, because the difference between 2026 being ordinary and 2026 being extraordinary is not a miracle. It's your relentless commitment to being better than yesterday every single day. This is your moment. Own it.